Welcome back to the Uncensored Voice. This is Randolph Macias, your host. Today's guest is Republican primary runoff candidate and current chairman of the Republican Party of Bexar County, John Austin. Welcome to the show, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Just want to get a brief bio. What brought you to San Antonio? How's it come that you call San Antonio home?
Well, I was born in Austin, but I moved here when I was about 5 over into the Wood Lake area, Commerce, Kirby area, so I grew up on the east side. And I fell in love with the culture and the people, and I've been here ever since. I'm 53, so almost 50 years of my life here. So this is my home, South Texas.
So you're online with that Puro San Antonio attitude, huh?
Yeah.
Taco Tuesday and all that good stuff. We just love that stuff here. But what led you to your decision to run for re-election as chairman of the party of the Bexar County Republicans?
Well, I got into the chairmanship to help the party rebuild itself and to help come back out of the dumpster fire that we were. So I set a lot of goals, and we reached a lot of goals that I set, but we haven't reached all of them, and the party's not back to where I believe it should be. I think that Bexar County in general is a conservative county, and it's Democrat right now. So there's a big problem. There's not enough Republicans as they stand to keep winning elections or to start winning again. So I agree with some of my friends that we need to reach out to the Hispanic community. I ran on that before, and also the Black community, and all communities that are Democrat voters but that are conservative people. So I see a really good opportunity to keep building the party, expand the numbers of voters that vote Republican, and still build the party back to its former grand self here. We used to run almost everything in Bexar County maybe 20, 25 years ago, so I think we can be back there. So
I guess the tide has turned, and we're now in the process of trying to do some outreach.
That's correct.
As far as getting the minority voter base in. So that pretty much leads me to my next question, which you partially answered, but I want to kind of give you do you feel that the Bexar County Republican Party under your leadership is doing all it can to reach out and seize every opportunity to get every potential Republican vote that is available in the Black, Hispanic, and Asian communities in this county?
No, I don't think that we've done everything that we can. We've tried, we started processes, but it's a bigger job than just 1.5 years can do of work. So. Like my former competitor Jacinto has pointed out, we didn't do as much work as we needed to, and I realize that. The rebuilding of the party and getting everything back into shape was more of a bigger animal to eat than I thought. So that's my fault for not focusing as much on that expansion of the voter as we should have, but it was kind of how many things can you do at one time? So that's no excuse, and we're working on that part now. Now that we have the apparatus of the party kind of running well, the finances are going okay. We've got precinct chairs joining, so now we can focus on that expansion to the other areas.
Thank you for that answer, Chairman. I appreciate that. According to your website, your platform says, "Serving the community, working tirelessly to make it a better place." And my question to that is, have you been working tirelessly to make BCRP a better place, and what have you accomplished in BCRP currently to make it better?
Oh yeah, I'm very tired. So yes, we've been working hard. I mean, if you look at the Trump election, a lot of Republicans came away not having confidence in the voting. And so that was one thing that we focused on. I reached out to the RPT and the RNC to kind of help us with new and better training. So we've been training poll watchers, poll workers like judges and clerks, and really expanding our base of volunteers to help out. And we just had the primary election. It was a successful election, and we were successful in expanding our ability to keep tabs on what's happening at the polls and at the elections office. And the elections office isn't really too happy with us now because we were very much ingrained in the process, and their process isn't very good. So we're going to be pushing them to get better at their process, because we've found a lot of errors and a lot of opportunities for shady business. They're not doing that, but there's holes. And so with the training, with we have a couple outside groups out of the party that were a Bear Election Integrity Group and so forth. We reached out to them with the help of the RNC and the RPT to bridge the gaps with them and train them and help them. So it's just the party can't necessarily do it by themselves. We need volunteers, we need outside groups to help, and as long as we're all on the same page and same team, we can, that process can go forward and we can make it a better election. So I feel very confident that we had a fair election in this primary.
On my personal observations, I don't buy the newspaper, but occasionally when I go to the store, I take a look at the headline, and the mainstream media, at least locally, is saying or putting into a bad light 17,000 ballots have been rejected, and then the backdrop is an Hispanic man riding a bicycle in an inner west side neighborhood, and the kind of what I'm picking up on that is they see it as a negative thing in light of the new laws that have been in effect, I think, as of January 4th. Mm-hmm. Now, what I see is voter integrity being implemented, and the mainstream media is casting it in a bad light. So hopefully the integrity of our elections is improving at this point, even though the mainstream media says it is like a rejection of the right of people to vote. But we want the right people to vote and the wrong people to not vote, mm-hmm. because there are rules in place for how you vote. So thank you for that answer, Chairman. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that sounds very insulting too. That what are they trying to say, that Hispanic people are stupid and they can't understand how to vote? I think that the rejection or the votes that got turned down were people that just didn't read the instructions properly. And I don't think there's you can tag somebody with, oh, those people are stupid and they can't vote. I mean, that's insulting to me, just as an American and as a Santonian. We rejected a lot of Republican votes, so are they going to show some white guy on a bicycle riding away too in the sunset? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And that's certainly what the mainstream media was trying to put into our head, as the rejection of the ballots was a very bad thing, but I can only see it as a law that was passed duly, is taking effect and working in a positive manner.
Right.
And so
that ballot, you have to put an identification number on there. And if you're not an American, you probably don't have that identification number, and you probably shouldn't be voting. So, I mean, you have to have an ID to go get a pack of cigarettes or a bottle of beer or your Social Security check or anything. So that's just a red herring, and they're lying.
Yes, and so that's what they're trying to put into our head, but we have our own minds to think,
yes,
and so that's why I want to bring that to light. Which leads me to my next question. What is on your agenda to advance the party in the next term, should you be reelected, sir?
Well, we've built a good foundation, and we're still rebuilding our relationships with the national and the state party. We're going to be doing some projects with some of the outside counties around us that are more Republican. They're going to come in, like Wilson and Atascosa County. Their families are in the south side, and so they have some good influence on them. We're expanding to the south side. We're going to really go to the east side and the west side as well, because we know there's pockets of Republican in hiding voters, and we need to get them out of the woodwork. So that's a major thing. We have joint agreements with some congressional candidate. We're going to try to expand that. That helps our finances a little bit, and it helps our notoriety that Bexar County is a good place for Republicans to do business. So I just see a lot of good positive things that we've started, and we'll just continue growth there.
Thank you for that answer, Chairman. I appreciate that as well. Does the Republican Party of Bexar County have the means to put back into place the South Side Satellite Office that was previously shut down after an issue with its inability to stay open?
Yes, I think we have the means. Like I've previously said in the CEC meetings and management meetings, we are currently looking around for an office, a little bit less size and expense, but there's no reason why we can't do that, and we do have the means to do that. It's just trying to find the right place at this point. And so we had to move our main headquarters, and so in the midst of that, the RNC came in and opened the Hispanic Outreach Center down on the south side, and so that took a little pressure off of the whole party to try to have to get something right away, because they kind of filled the gap for the short term. But we will be doing that pretty soon.
Thank you for that answer, Chairman. Would that also expand anywhere else on the compass in the County of Bexar?
Well, if you look back at the at my previous election when I ran against the previous chairwoman, we had Charlotte and Jacinto as opponents of the chair, and Charlotte in particular was very interested in west east side satellites, and Jacinto is definitely interested in the south side. And I listened to them, and I started taking their thoughts into my mind, and I don't see why we shouldn't be able to do that at some point. I mean, there's a lot of semantics and a lot of thought that needs to go into it. If we have an office, we're going to have some staff there. So it's easier to do the south side office at this point because we have a big upswell of support there. But the west side, I know they want to support us, but do we have somebody that wants to go work in there, that's in that area, or the east side? So we have to develop those relationships, or we have those people there. We just need to start seeing if they're willing to give some of their time. I mean, we're all volunteers here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
I have a real job, so anytime I'm at the office, which is probably 20 to 40 hours a week, I'm just off my clock, and I'm on our clock.
What kind of resources would the satellite offices provide that, say, the RNC Community Center cannot?
Oh, I think it might be similar to that. That's a very interesting way to possibly do it. We may be able to get the RNC to come help us too, and that would defer the cost a little bit. So I don't see the way that they're doing their office is they're a community center, not a political office. So I don't see why we can't have that, because you don't want to just plop down right in the middle of somebody's neighborhood and start talking politics. That's not a good way to win them over. You go in there and you introduce yourself and you say, this is what I'm about and this is what I believe in. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, John's not a bad guy. And then I'm like, hey, you sound like you agree with me on like all these things. Why do you vote Democrat? Well, my mom voted for John Kennedy. I'm like, okay, cool, but I believe in all these things and the Democrat Party doesn't. You're not a Democrat. And I'm not in their face about it. I just convinced them, and then all of a sudden, ding, they're like, hey, I'm just like that guy and his beliefs. So I'm going to start voting with them. It's not a quick and easy thing. I mean, we can get that thoughts into their heads quickly, but it may take a little while for them to realize that they're voting on the wrong side of the fence. But we can make them happen. We can make it happen.
Thank you for that answer, Chairman. I appreciate that as well. Next question is, what is your plan to slow the spread of wokeism in our local colleges and universities? I believe this was a question posed to you at a candidate forum. I don't know if I was there or not, but what was your response? And I believe this was in reference to UTSA specifically.
I don't remember having that question to me, but we have to start at the high schools really, and it goes to the school districts, and it goes to the boards there. This past year we had 2 Black Lives Matter super socialists go for the Alamo Heights School Board. And so I mobilized, we got the Vice Chair Charlotte to get all the precinct chairs in that neighborhood in the Alamo Heights School District to go out. I mean, we just blasted that neighborhood. Do you really want a socialist in there? Black Lives Matter, CRT, all that stuff. So 2 conservatives won because the party got involved. And I actually had one of the candidates call me and say, hey, John, what are you doing? I thought the party wasn't supposed to be involved. I said, you guys are lying so much and your party's so involved that we're not on the sidelines anymore, because we're losing our whole society to this junk, so to the wokeism, to the CRT. So I think we start there, but we can go into the colleges, and it's kind of similar to going to these neighborhoods that have always voted Democrat. The colleges are really, they're woke, they're Democrat run. So we just got to get our toe in there, into the door, and then slowly get in there. But I don't see why we can't do it through maybe like the Young Republicans Club or something like that. Just start expanding. And the kids are smart. People are smart in San Antonio, so they're going to realize they're being fooled at some point. And we need to be there to fill that gap.
Thank you, Chairman. Another question I wanted to ask was, what are your thoughts about the Election Integrity Committee? You had said that it should have been referred to as Election Integrity, but what did you say it was to be called?
Okay, so
I mistakenly called it.
Right. So we had a in the party. It's set up by the bylaws that we have standing committees, like the Finance Committee and the Budget Committee. Those are always running, and then we have special committees. They're short term. They have a certain like 3 or 5 things to do, items to do, and then once they complete their mission, they go dormant. And so whenever we wrote the bylaws, somebody put in the bylaws that the name of the certain committee was the Election Integrity Committee. And that sounds great. I mean, we all want election integrity, but if you read what their purpose is, it was to find and train poll watchers and election judges. And the chairman has a responsibility before the election, like my deadline was June 30th, to submit a list of prospective judges and clerks to the elections office so they can be trained by the elections office, because they need to learn how to use their machines and computers and the voting machines. And so we submitted 480 names. And so that's like the most ever. The last chairwoman, she submitted 60 names for the previous election, I guess for the Trump election or whatever. So I think we did a great job of finding people that said they wanted to be trained and be an election worker. I don't know what the numbers are, what actually performed, but we did our duty to get those people trained. And then at that point, it was June of last year, there's no election going on. So I looked at the bylaws and what the qualifications of that committee were, and I said, I think they're done for now. And so I reached out to the chairman of the committee, Kiko Canseco, Congressman Canseco, and I asked him, sir, how is your committee? Do you feel like you've fulfilled your duties as your committee as it stands? Yes. Okay, I formally dissolve your committee for now. Well, unbeknownst to me, people of the committee were doing stuff on the side where they were doing voter integrity stuff, but that was outside of the boundaries of the committee. So the committee got dissolved. They got mad because they thought that I didn't like voter integrity, but we should have probably named that committee the Election Judge Poll Watcher Committee.
A more specific term.
That's what it was. I agree with I agree with everybody that we need to have an elections integrity committee, which means elections integrity. And so that's different than what we had. So there was a big misunderstanding. Maybe I didn't communicate good enough. The chairman of the committee wrote a letter to me saying that he's fulfilled his duties as the committee, and I dissolved it. And then all of a sudden, all heck broke loose. And I'm a rhino, and I don't like voter integrity. And so there was a big animosity between them, from them towards me, not with me to them. I was just like, hey, I don't even know what's going on over there. I mean, what's the deal? So slowly but surely I figured out, and I knew that they had a lot of good ideas. I mean, the people in there are genuine. They want the party to be successful, even the ones that are against me. That's, whatever. That's different. The party is different than the election of me. So I reached out to the RNC and the RPT. I said, hey, I've got this group of people over here, and I really want them back in the party. I really want them back with us. What can we do? So they reached out and started the bridge building. And so finally, I offered the office for training. They had training here at this office where we're doing this interview, and we tried to start being a teammate with them. They're not part of the Republican Party at this point. They're kind of beside us, but with us. Does that make sense? So I feel like we've made tremendous steps of getting those folks back into the fold, because if we're just divided into little groups, if we have the party and then these little satellite groups, we're going to fail, because there's too much good energy over here, and in the middle at the party to be, if we're all separated, like what is that saying? Divided you fall, united you stand, divided you fall.
Yes.
And we're going to fall if we keep segmenting out like this. So at some point, people are going to have to come back in, or they're going to, just go away, because the party has to be one. And so I want that election integrity group to be part of the party. If they, we'll figure out their role. But I'm not taking credit for their work, but we did help them. I mean, on election night, we opened our doors at the party headquarters, and we had a war room there. So part of that group was there taking calls from the poll watchers. Hey, there's something going on. And it worked out fine. So
you would be open to reforming or reestablishing a committee focused on
yeah,
election
so
integrity?
We're coming to the end of my term. And so for the next term, we're going to have to redo the bylaws. We read basically it ends on June 12th or June 13th. And June 14th, the new administration starts, if it's mine or if it's my opponent's. So either way, the bylaws get redone, the committees get redone. So we will, if I'm the chairman again, have voter worker committee and an election integrity committee. And that may be a standing committee that's always functioning, because we can be training people year round and then not have, oh, here comes the election, we need to scramble for judges or whatever. We have this list of people that are trained and ready to roll right now.
Thank you for that answer, Chairman. I really appreciate that, sir. And my next question is, this is a fair question to ask, and we need your input on this as a candidate. There was a member of our CEC Management Committee that was seen publicly endorsing City Councilman Robert Trevino, who then later lost his post to Mario Bravo, the current incumbent of City Council District Number 1. Mm-hmm. My question is, do you think that action by a member of the CEC Management Committee did anything that would conflict with the mission of the Bexar County Republican Party and its goal to promote and advance the Republican Party of Bexar County? And I mean, what is your response to that?
It's kind of a sticky situation. I mean, what are we trying to? I wasn't happy about that, so let's just put it there. I don't think that somebody from our party in general, no matter what their position, should have endorsed a Democrat. So what do you do about it? I mean, they're elected official, they're elected by their members to be part of the management committee. So I really don't have any power to reprimand them or kick them out or whatever. The reasoning behind it made some sense for political reasons of trying to have not a super socialist in there. What's that saying? The lesser of two evils. So I understood their point of view, didn't necessarily agree with it. If it was me, I wouldn't have gone there. I mean, I would, but so I was disappointed about that and not really happy about it at all. So, but there's just not so much we can do, as it's just.
Well, my response to what you just said is, does the chairman have the empowerment to censure a member for doing such actions?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was an option on the table or not.
No,
because
there's been some cases where some people should have gotten hammered this year, and that very well could have been one of them. you know, and there's some others too. So, but no, the chairman is just, I'm kind of the overall, basically the teacher or whatever of the party for the CEC. That's where the real, not power, but that's where the real procedure would be for something like that. It's not rests on the chairman's desk.
So if you were reelected to another term, could that type of action in the future by any other individual be put into the bylaws?
I mean, we'd be willing to look at that for sure, yeah.
I appreciate that, Kyle. And my last question, Chairman, looking into the camera, can you talk to the Bexar County electorate who have the power to elect you or unelect you? What is your message to them directly?
Well, I appreciate you guys trusting me with my last election to be the chairman, and I've worked hard to facilitate the return of the party. We're not done yet, and we have a lot of work to do still. And if I get elected, I'll continue building from what I've done. We've made strides in the last couple of weeks to ensure that we'll be growing on the south side and other parts of town. So I would just suggest that we keep going forward and upward. We're in a good trajectory of success, and if my opponent gets elected, I think it will come to a screeching halt and go backwards. And so I humbly ask for your vote. I give my blood, sweat, and tears for the party, literally. That's a kind of a joke. I put a yard sign through my hand recently, so.
Yeah, those signs are pretty sharp. I cut my hand on one of them myself. I know how it is.
the yard stake went right through my hand, like 6 inches out the other side. But I'm just an honest, hard-working businessman here in town, and I love my party, and I want it to be successful. So if you re-elect me, I'll do my best to make us the best we are.
Well, my hope is that we can make Bexar County great again.
Yes, sir.
And I certainly appreciate. When I asked you if I could put the Trump flag there, you said yes. So you're unapologetically a supporter of President Trump.
You can ask, the Express News. They keep calling me and asking me, hey, what the heck? Why do you like Trump? And I said, I'll take you out for a beer someday, Gilbert Garcia, and tell you about Trump, okay? But you don't want to hear it right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I certainly thank you for your time, Chairman. And once again, this is Randolph of the Uncensored Voice. Thank you for your time, Chairman Austin. And best wishes to you and your campaign. May God bless America and the great state of Texas.
Thank you.